You are watching Law Module 1, and my name is Ron Campbell, and I am one of the instructors of law at North Carolina State University in the College of Agriculture and Life Science. And those three of us who are legally trained, we teach law in the Department of Agriculture Resource Economics. If you're watching this, then maybe you are a student at NC State University, or you'd like to be a student at NC State University, or you might be watching this because you're considering taking this law class, not necessarily on campus, but taking this class as a distance education opportunity. You can come into this classroom and enroll without being a student in the College of Agriculture and Life Science. Anybody at NC State can take this course. And in fact, you don't even have to be a student at NC State University. If you would like 3 hours of college credit that will transfer to you and your college, then send me an email. I'm going to tell you how it can be done. And even if you're not a college student anywhere, you can still sign up and enroll and take this course as a non-degree student. You will find that this course is very worthwhile to you because the knowledge of law is a major portion of important decisions. Now, why is it important for you to study law?
Leaders are successful decision makers. Information is essential to leadership. The law is a major portion of all business and especially agribusiness activity. The NC State Legislature, this university, and the Ag Resources Economics Department value hands-on practical legal education. 3 attorneys teach law courses in the ARE department. 1 lawyer instructor spends his days only in environmental law. During autumn evenings, he shares the latest news about environmental law with his NC State students. The 2nd lawyer instructor in the Ag Resource Department is the president of the American Association of Agricultural Law Attorneys. The 3rd former trial attorney instructor is the author of a law text employed in the agricultural law courses at NC State University. Why such emphasis on agricultural law? After you make the decision what to produce, the law helps you get your investment to market. In fact, you are allowed in North Carolina to trespass upon other people's land to get your products to market. Law deals with contracts and agreements to buy and sell. The law helps to enforce agreements to sell your products. If you're entitled to the enforcement of the promises that you made, the courts will act to ensure your legal rights. Law deals with agricultural land, residential land, commercial zoning of land, water use, pesticide and other chemical use, timber, and many others. Agricultural law affects almost every single aspect of the business of earning a living from the land. With your college education, you will be assuming leadership roles. Knowledge of real law will arm you with the confidence to make informed decisions. TV law is fine entertainment, but it's not the real world as you will learn in college. Leaders can be trained to create and work smart.
Are you ready now to learn some real law? How much privacy do you have today? Is the government snooping into your private affairs? That's the question for today's court case, the case of the aerial photos. Deputy Barney was nodding off to sleep when he got a phone call.
Barney, check out the big cornfield on the other side of the river. Old Jimmy is trying to make a killing growing marijuana plants hidden between the rows of that cornfield.
Barney was interested in making a big arrest, especially since Sheriff Andy was out of town for a while. So that afternoon, Barney walked all over the cornfield looking for the marijuana plants. But no luck. 3 hours of traipsing through the cornfield, and he didn't find anything. Nothing. Then the deputy had an idea. He would get the old biplane used for crop dusting. The next day, Barney was being flown 100 feet above the cornfield. Barney spotted exactly what he was looking for, illegal marijuana plants, a dozen or more. He took several photos from the biplane, and when he landed, he went back to the field and waited until somebody came by. In just a few hours came old Jimmy, who was tending to the marijuana plants. Oh, Barney had his man. Barney arrested him on the spot. Jimmy's criminal case has gone to trial. Barney was on the witness stand. He stated that he took the aerial photos of the marijuana plants himself. The prosecutor moved to introduce the photos into evidence when the defense attorney arose and said,
"Where is the search warrant? The court did not give permission to search the cornfield. The U.S. Constitution guarantees the right of privacy. There is the right to be free of governmental invasion of our privacy. Your Honor, I oppose the introduction of the aerial photos into evidence."
The decision is now up to you. Would you allow the photos into evidence, yes or no? Is the prosecution's introduction of the photographs constitutional? Consider carefully. Okay, it's time for you now to record your decision. Pause this module and send to me an email. My email address is ron, R-O-N, _C-A-M, silent P, B-E-L-L, @ncsu.edu. That's my email. You send to me what you decided, and more importantly, why you decided in the courtroom decision of the aerial photographs. Should these photographs be introduced into evidence? Okay, how did you do? There are no wrong answers. The important thing is that you wrote something. But you know what was so interesting about this case is that it talked about the right of privacy. Well, this is my copy of the U.S. Constitution, and I was thumbing through it the other day, and by golly, I never did find the word privacy anywhere in the U.S. Constitution. And that's where most of our law starts from. Well, we're going to talk about that as we go through the course, the U.S. Constitution. You know, most of American law came from overseas, from the United Kingdom. And in fact, we're going to talk about English laws right now. Because a short time ago, well, a long time ago, something dramatically happened overnight. Take a look. I'm going to just share this with you right here. You might recognize this island. Let's see. Let's put in Denmark, and here we go. Oh, yeah. Around Spain. Now a little bit for Italy. You see, around the year 1000, we had a new king. The old king died, and he was supposed to do two things. He was supposed to defend the island from any attackers, and he was supposed to produce an heir, some child to be the new king. He did a lousy job. There was no new king. And so the ruling council appointed a fella by the name of Harold to be the King of England, and he was the new fella on block. Well, the problem is, in this portion of Europe, known as Normandy, there was another fella who wanted to be king. And his name was William, and he said he was entitled to be king. And in fact, back in the year 1066, he gathered his forces, crossed over the Channel, and attacked the forces of the King of England. And it changed law overnight. Watch carefully.
Situation. Saxon forces are assembled in Hastings, England. Mission. Secure the crown of England. Execution. On 14 October 1066, engage and destroy the Saxons. Administration. The Norman army will take the field and carry out the mission at all costs. Command and control under the leadership of William the Conqueror.
England, New Year's Day 1066. A national crisis looms. The old King Edward the Confessor lies on his deathbed. With no heir to his throne, his death will leave a vacuum that two powerful contenders hope to fill. One is Harold, the Earl of Wessex.
Harold owned more land than anybody else in England. He was a natural choice, and in fact he was the choice of the Anglo-Saxon aristocracy.
The other contender is King Edward's cousin, William, who rules the small Duchy of Normandy across the English Channel.
The Norman sources say that King Edward had promised the throne upon his death to Duke William of Normandy.
With a handmade piece of propaganda. The most famous document from William's time is the Bayeux Tapestry. It measures 1.5 feet high by 230 feet long. It's essentially an embroidered cartoon containing 58 scenes from William's life, all from the Norman perspective. It's a storyboard that illustrates exactly how William wanted to be remembered by history.
On January 5th, Edward dies. Acting swiftly, Harold pressures the royal council to name him king. Believing he's been cheated out of a kingdom, William calls a meeting of his nobles to press the idea of launching a cross-channel invasion.
I think he's thinking of war immediately. He wants England one way or another.
To William's surprise, the barons are skeptical.
They point out to him that Anglo-Saxon England has a much larger navy than Normandy, that it has a large army. They're afraid that William is biting off more than he can chew yet.
William realizes he needs a more persuasive argument to win support for his undertaking. You are William, the Duke of Normandy. How do you persuade the barons to join the invasion? Secure the church's blessing for anyone who fights. Offer land to those who sign up. Strip titles from those who remain opposed. The answer? Because the venture is so risky, the offer of land is not always enough to win support for your cause. Nor will the punishment of stripping titles help sell your case. Securing the blessing of the church and turning the invasion into a war with papal backing is a much more persuasive way of winning widespread support. The answer is A.
William can go to the Pope and say, Harold has broken an oath. Oaths are holy. You must support my claim to the throne of England, and the papacy is actually reasonably happy to do that because William has been a supporter of church reform in Normandy.
The Pope excommunicates Harold and blesses the Norman invasion as a religious campaign. He gives the papal banner to William to carry into battle.
One of the advantages of having the Pope on their side was that papal sanction for the campaign made it easier to recruit mercenaries, freebooters, people who would join the William's army for the campaign because it was a legitimate campaign.
William now faces the daunting challenge of assembling an army and a navy. To get enough ships, he must have some built from scratch.
It took William, understandably, the entire summer of 1066 to muster his forces on the beaches of Normandy.
William plans to transport nearly 10,000 men. Even so, his army may be greatly outnumbered. Knowing that his opponents fight only on foot, William intends to give himself an advantage by taking war horses.
Fighting with cavalry is advantageous in a variety of ways. William could relay commands from one end of his army to the next by either riding personally or sending his men to communicate changes in the battle plan. They were formidable foes against any army, especially an army of foot soldiers.
Now, William must devise a way to transport the horses across the English Channel. How can you transport horses across the English Channel? In sailing vessels, there's enough room for horses to stand in the center. In ships with oars, oar-powered ships can reach their destination faster. On towed barges, the animals can be penned separately from the men. The answer? It is impossible to place horses in oar-powered ships because the sweep of the oars will hit the horses' flanks. You cannot pen the horses together away from their masters because the animals will become too nervous. The safest way to transport the horses is on sailing ships, with men on the decks to calm and control them. The answer is A. By early August, the ships are ready to sail. William and his men wait for a southerly wind that will blow them north to the coast of England.
Getting antsy about how long it's been, and the wind shifts from directly in his face to kind of sideways, coming from the west instead of the north. And he says, okay, this is the best chance we're going to get, let's go.
On September 12th, the Normans scramble to load their horses and gear into the ships. They set sail, but during the night, the wind changes direction and turns into a gale. The storm blows the fleet back against the Normandy coast. Ships are wrecked and many men drown. William finds himself in a desperate situation.
He's running out of supplies. He's running out of money, above all, to buy supplies and to pay the troops. And if he doesn't make it across within a week or so, I suspect the army would have started melting away under him.
How do you encourage your troops to attempt another crossing? Threaten to imprison deserters. The runaways will undermine the others. Recruit new troops. Reinforcements will add new energy to the invasion. Increase daily rations. A show of strength will shore up your men's confidence. The answer? Threatening to imprison deserters will do nothing to fortify the men who are still willing to make the voyage, nor will you be able to find reinforcements on such short notice. Your best course of action is to make your men believe you are not worried. Increasing their daily rations will demonstrate that you still have confidence in their venture. The answer?
He doubles the rations to disguise the fact that he's running out, to keep morale up, to keep the troops together. It's a clever move. It's one of the signs that William is a great general and a lucky one, because he manages to do this for just long enough that the winds change.
On the night of September 27th, the wind shifts, and William gives the order to sail. Norman ships cross the channel, covering 22 miles of open ocean in the dark.
They braved the autumn seas in an attempt to surprise Harold. This invasion between Normandy and England was the largest since the Romans 1,000 years earlier, and it would not be matched until D-Day, almost 900 years later. However, William's grand entrance did not go as planned.
William's landing at Pevensey Bay was almost a disaster. William stepped out of the boat onto the shingle and promptly fell flat on his face in the mud. And he looked round and he could see his men's expression. This was a bad omen.
The superstitious soldier would think, oh my God, now we're in for it. But one of the knights is supposed to have said to William, you've got the earth of England in your hands there. And then, of course, it was turned to his advantage.
The site William chooses is the Hastings Peninsula, a 6 by 10 mile spit of land backed by a harbor in case he needs to make a quick getaway. Hoping to draw Harold towards Hastings, William orders his men to pillage and burn the nearby farmlands.
When he starts ravaging, partly in order to gain supplies, he's also making Harold angry. He needs to fight a battle soon, because it's so late in the campaigning season that if he doesn't, he'll be stuck in a strange land through the winter, and that's a bad situation logistically.
On October 14th, Norman scouts spot the Anglo-Saxon army. They carry a fearsome weapon.
They were equipped with what was called the Danish axe. It was a large two-handed axe, which the sources speak of as being able to cleave through a rider and a horse in one strike.
Harold deploys his troops to form a solid phalanx atop an elevated ridge, Scarls in front, to form a wall of shields.
The shield wall is aptly named. It's rank upon rank of Anglo-Saxon soldiers with their shields before them, these great round oaken shields, overlapping each other slightly to present a formidable phalanx.
William marches his army in a line nearly 3 miles long toward the ridge. Once they reach the ridge, the line breaks into 3 columns. Whom do you send in first? Cavalry. They can attack from an elevated position. Archers. They can harass the defense. Foot soldiers. They can use axes to chop through the shields. The answer? You want to save your most valuable weapon, the cavalry, for last. If you send your foot soldiers against an unbroken shield wall, they will be made too vulnerable. By using your archers first, they can soften up the defense and create gaps in the shield wall for the others to break through. The answer is B. But Harold has chosen a good defensive position, and the Norman soldiers make little progress.
The Normans are firing uphill, and their arrows are going straight into the shields of the Saxons and doing nothing to the Saxon army.
After an hour of savage fighting, the Anglo-Saxon army stands firm. The shield wall holds. Soon, Norman troops fighting ferociously in the thick of battle do not see William, their leader.
Shout goes up that William himself has been killed.
Believing that William is dead, some Norman soldiers panic and flee into a marsh. A portion of Anglo-Saxons break rank and pursue them. William must act quickly, or his men will be slaughtered.
This is the crucial point of the battle. William takes his helmet off so that his face is visible, and he rides up and down the line, berating his men encouraging his men, telling them that he's alive.
Simultaneously, William takes advantage of the break in the Anglo-Saxon line and issues new orders.
William's cavalry were exhausted from charging up the slope and dodging spears, and then they found themselves facing an impenetrable defense. Harold ordered his men to hold their shield tight and not advance in the hopes that William's men would wear themselves out, run out of arrows, be easy pickings if any Saxon reinforcements arrived the next morning.
The fighting has lasted nearly all day. As darkness approaches, William knows the battle is far from over. By this time, many of Harold's Anglo-Saxons have fallen.
It's been suggested that William then changed his tactics. He ordered his archers to shoot high into the air beyond the shield wall. This caused panic in the Saxon ranks. Both of Harold's brothers fell dead from the falling arrows. It was a brilliant move by William. William's warriors charged again and were able to attack around the edges of the now shorter shield wall. They also broke through the middle toward King Harold. William sensed the victory was close, but he needed to kill Harold before he could be king and claim to be conqueror of England. After almost 8 hours, the Battle of Hastings was reaching its climax. 3 horses had been killed under William, and a Saxon axe had dented his helmet. By 1600 hours, the Normans had broken through the Saxon shield wall. Norman archers fired over the heads of their own foot soldiers, deep into the Saxon ranks, causing chaos. But King Harold still lived. The conquest of England was not yet in William's grasp. An arrow, seemingly from the heavens, descended and struck Harold in his right eye. Punishment maybe for breaking his holy oath.
On Christmas Day, 1066, William is crowned king. His reign would meld Anglo-Saxon and Norman culture, transforming England forever.
Hastings was decisive in ways that many other battles weren't decisive. It's that the victory not only won the war, but changed the parameters of future development.
The country would undergo tremendous changes in government, law, administration, culture, religion.
And now you know how the laws in England changed practically overnight. For on that October afternoon, when the arrow flew through the heavens and hit the English king right in the eyeball and scrambled it like a scaperonon grape, the forces of William became William the Conqueror, and those forces were victorious. For 300 years in England, the king and the judges would be speaking in the courts of law the language of France. In fact, English would not be spoken to settle legal disputes. Well, you've learned a little bit of law, and you're going to learn so much more as you take the course in agricultural law.